Alright, and this is the next step in my Siberian fuzz build. Big Muff Pi variant, and I apologize about the noise. I know there's a lot of ambient noise going on in the room. I've got my furnace on and my humidifiers, and it's full-blown winter here in the Midwest, but I wanted to show this off. So I've got my board completed, populated. I've got my 4 outboarding wires. That's the input, output, 9-volt in, and ground. And I'm just running those into my breadboard. And then the breadboard has got the battery and the input and output jacks. So again, this is just a way to simply test everything I've done here on this breadboard, or on the PCB, that I know is correct. So we're just going to do a quick little tone test, and also this is going to be the stock circuit for the Russian Big Muff. So yeah, we're going to give it a shot here and see how it sounds. Alright guys, let's talk a little bit about the Big Muff Pi tone stack. What you see here is the documentation from the Siberian fuzz, and they have an excellent breakdown of the schematic, some of which we've gone through already, but I want to highlight the tone stack, which is right in here. And so I've done a little bit of research, and from what I can tell, you've got a capacitor resistor, CR, and then you've also got an RC, resistor capacitor, and then this is your tone control, which mixes between the two. And so what I am thinking about doing, and from what the research I've done, I've pulled up, this is another page, this is Coda Effects, that has a really, really nice breakdown of these tone stacks. And so if you look at this, this is the same part of the circuit right here. This capacitor then resistor to ground creates a high-pass filter. And if you mess with the value of either this capacitor or this is a resistor, this is a potentiometer acting as a variable resistor. If you modulate or change the value of this amount of resistance, you can change the value of the filter. And so what they've basically done is you've taken this resistor, which by stock is 22K, and what you want to do is reduce the value of that resistor down to something quite a bit less, and then you put it in series with a potentiometer. So, for example, you could do something like 5K in series with a 25K pot. So in total, you could get 30K of resistance, which is a little bit higher than the 22K here. But then at minimum, you could get the 5K of resistance. So you have a sweep that goes lower and higher within reason. And that's going to shift the value of the high-pass filter. And by doing that, really the reason why the mid-cut exists on this circuit is because the way that the two filters interact creates a notch, a scoop, which you can see right here. And if you take this part of the filter and shift it this direction so it actually coincides with more like this part of the circuit, then you get more mid-range. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this resistor out, and in its place I'm going to put a jumper, which would be right here at this junction between the tone control and the capacitor, and then jumper that out to a potentiometer where I'm going to run it in series with the 5K resistor, and then the other end of it is going to go to ground. So pretty excited about this as a way to help control the mid-range, and you still hopefully should have access to the mid-scoop as well. So we're going to go ahead and give that a shot here on the breadboard. All right, so this is looking at the instructions for the Siberian. What you see here is the PCB layout. Now this is my PCB. You can't actually see where R18 is. That's the one that we're looking for because it's all covered up. But I can tell you that R18 is right here. And so I've oriented my circuit board so it matches that, and I've just counted down. Here's our diode right here, capacitor R17, R18. So it's this guy right here. So I'm going to pull that one out. All right, referring back to the schematic again. Now what, I've lifted R18 out of my PCB, and I need to find this junction point right here between the tone stack, C10, and R18, and then the other side of R18 goes to ground. Okay, so as best as I can tell, these are my three holes here for the tone control. This is C10, and there's a little jump that goes here to R18, and then I believe at this point, I don't see anything on this point that exits anywhere, so I believe that that is our ground connection. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this top junction point here on R18 as my insert. So I'm going to run a output from there, and I'm going to run that into a resistor and then my potentiometer. Now one of the legs of the resistor may be hanging with that type of a setup, but I can't just replace the resistor in here because this other leg is grounded. So, you know, I need to leave that open for the other side of the part coming, or the lead. I need to leave that open for the lead coming to ground from the other side of my pot. So I'm going to use this as my jumping off point. And if it doesn't work, then I must be wrong and it's got to be this other one, but I think either way I can do it. And just one thing to keep in mind too when you're doing these kind of modifications is, again, you want to keep an eye on your heat of your soldering iron. You want to make sure that you're not pumping too much heat onto the circuit board. So you want to work kind of quickly and efficiently. Get the resistor out, get the new one, get the new lead in, and so that you're not burning up your PCB. All right, now I've got my mid-range control hooked up. I've got 3.3K in series with a 25K potentiometer. right, pretty happy with how that worked out. I think I'm going to stick with it, and let's go ahead and start boxing it up.